Alright. Ew. Hi, everyone. It is me, Sailor Moon. And it's me, Sailor Uranus here. And today, we're gonna talk about, you know, gatekeeping in the Sailor Moon followership. Why? Because since it is a thing. No, we're gonna talk about, why the unstraight had to be cleaned, and talk about why Dic And Cloverway cleaned my show. Now, in the Sailor Moon followership, there are many Sailor Moon followers, old ones, young ones, and a lot of them, rant. A lot of them rant or bitch or scave. The the Sailor Moon English offshoot, which was done by Dic, later on by Cloverway, and also by Pioneer or Pathseeker. And a lot of folks bitch about either names being shifted, or stead names being shifted, or strike names being shifted, or the borrowed names being shifted for other borrowed names, and a whole bunch of other things. They also bitch about the unstraight being shifted. Now, everything, keep in mind, the same onlookers and watchers and seers and Dawnland and the rest of the world weren't the same onlookers and seers who were watching it in the 4-1 Reichs in a settled land. There were things you could and could not do. So you had to have some forgiveness there for the times. And first off, we're gonna talk about the names being shifted. A lot of you folks bitch or rant or scave about how the Dawnlandish borrowed names were shifted out for either Latinus, Frenchus, Farsius, or Hellenish, or Hebrewish borrowed names. Now, a lot of folks out there know those borrowed names more than they know the Dawnlandish borrowed names, so that's why they had to be shifted out. And instead, as far as stead names being shifted, I don't know why you folks make a big deal about it, but you do. Once again, not everyone would know all the steads, all the Nears, Earldoms, and Reichs that are in Dawnland. So yeah, they would have to shift it out with ones that they knew. And when it came to, strike names being shifted, once again it was just shifting them over to what more folks would know. But then you folks, talked about the unstraight being shifted, about how Zoisite and Millikite and the Dic offshoot were shifted over and Zoisite became a woman. You folks also bring a big thing up and say how Fisheye or Fish's Eye, which isn't really much of a likeness between the two names, that she became a woman. Even though at the end of the day, I believe she was always a woman in every offshoot of Sailor Moon. So, anyway, why they had to do that is because back in the day, a lot of folks out there thought that it was wrong, for anyone to be playing someone unstraight on a film, show, or play. And if that was being a film, show, or play was being made for children, and a lot of folks thought that that was wrong, even though there really wasn't anything wrong about it. But yeah, a lot of folks thought it was wrong. So Dic And Cloverway didn't want to be in that bind. Yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, Sailor Moon, a lot of folks, Dic and later on Cloverway, didn't want to be in the same bind that about folks that would, about folks who would think that unstraight folks in a film, show, or play being made for children, and some folks might thought that it was a wrong thing. So yes, Dic had to shift Zoisite and make her a woman. Yes, me and Sailor Neptune became nearkin. Yes, Fisheye, who I believe was a woman in every offshoot, enough to be said. So, you folks make a big deal about that. You also make a big deal about how some of the followings in the first following, the two diff following, were skimmed or not even worked at all. Well, there were some things in those followings that, for whatever grounds sake or why, they just felt wouldn't work, so that's why they skipped over some of those followings. At the end of the day, you folks make a big deal about things that a lot of folks wouldn't make a big deal out of. Here you are bitching about a show, or at least an offshoot of a show that hasn't been broadcasted since 2003 YL. Yeah, that's right. The English offshoot of Sailor Moon ran from 9 between 95 YL on Sundriest Folkworks, WB, UPN, and Fox, and ran from 9 between 97 YL to 9 between 98 YL in USA, and later on 9 between 98 YL to 2003 YL on Cartoon. If you were in a settled land, then it ran from 9 between 95 YL to 2003 YL on YTV. But you're making a big deal out of a offshoot of our show that hasn't been broadcasted and streamed it in years, and need be never will. You folks like to always talk about how Viz, how the Viz offshoot was more greater than a Dic And Cloverway and Pioneer offshoot of Sailor Moon, but once again, that's your belief. Yeah, you're right, Sarah Uranus. At the end of the day, I don't understand why so many folks are angry or irked or bitch or rant or scathed my show back in the day. The folks who were bitching, ranting, and scathing my show were the same folks who watched it when it first broadcasted in the settled land and the 4-1 Reichs and 9 between 95 YL to 2003 YL. So if it wasn't for Dic or Cloverway or Pioneer or Pathseeker, you folks would have never seen Sailor Moon. And there would have never been no need for Viz to work on it again if those three out there didn't give them the ground to do so. So, all the forgivenesses that you folks come up with to hate or, unlike my show, that is what it is. I mean, you have the right to feel that way. You got the right to, you have the right to your belief, your take, your thought, whatever. But I just don't understand why you folks, bitched about the things that most folks wouldn't care about, but you folks behave as if, cared about. So, at the end of the day, the hate wasn't there. And the grounds to why my show had to be heavily skimmed and cleaned by Dic and some by Cloverway, I already told you the grounds to that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Well, can I end this now? Alright, you can go ahead, Sarah Uranus, put an end to it tomorrow. Alright, if you like this film, then follow us over here at Sailor Moon for Life. Watch the other film we made yesterday over here, when Sailor Moon, Serena, and Sailor Pluto, Tissa, talked about Ariel Dell and Patrick Whitewell being the new main owners of WWE. I, Sarah Uranus Amara, I, Sailor Moon Serena, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.